She the queen, yeah, that's Queen Esquire. Legal trouble, she getting you out the fire. Another dame, she solving another case. Cause she litigate with dignity and grace. She the queen, yeah, that's Queen Esquire. Legal trouble, she getting you out the fire. Another dame, she solving another case. Cause she litigate with dignity and grace.
Barbie, Chloe, period I, period 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 period. Got my name up in your mouth, you don't know no better. Don't forget I'm from the south, yeah, I got them headers. You watching everything I do, studying all of my moves. Wish you could do what I do. Period I, period period I, period period I, period period I, period.
Hello, litigators and opinionators. Court is now in session. So we have been talking about the tragedy that occurred with two YouTubers, Finny, the legend, which is also known as Rodney Finley, and Bubbly, Tanisha Finley. And I just realized and I found out that they had their funeral, also known as a memorial service, this past Friday in Arizona. And I watched it and it was very, 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 it was a tearjerker, I have to say. I was working out, watching it, and it just really brought me to tears to see what a beautiful couple they were and how much of an impact they had on their family. So I caught a couple clips that I wanted to share with you guys. Finny's daughter, they have 4 kids, and the kids look like they're in their 20s or maybe they're at least adults. And one of the children spoke, and there were a lot of people that shared things about Finny and Bubbly that I wanted to share with you guys today. So I think it's important that we remember them and get to know the people who lost their lives and what a great impact they have had on a lot of people. So we're going to take a couple clips. The first clip that I'm going to show you is Finny's children. They spoke at the funeral. And let's just go ahead and get started with that. Yeah, you guys might want to get some tissue because it's actually quite sad. But we'll go ahead and play it now.
Good morning, everyone. First, I want to thank you for being here today. I know that my parents meant a lot to so many of you, and seeing all of your faces brings a little comfort in a time that is anything but comforting. Losing my parents the way we did is something I never imagined. It's hard, it's heavy, it's devastating, and honestly, I'm trying to still wrap my head around it. But what I do know.
You're saying you can't hear a Cookie? Yeah, something's odd with the sound. I'm going to try to rewind it and try again. It's not me, it's the recording. The recording is not loud. I put it to the highest volume that I could get it. So I don't know how else I could fix it. I know it is very low. I can't even hear it. Let me try again. I put it to the highest volume, like it's the highest it can go.
Designated Clary, you may come now.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, this is the loudest it can go, guys. Sorry.
First, I want to thank you for being here today. I know that my parents meant a lot to so many of you, and seeing all of your faces brings a little comfort in a time that is anything but comforting. Losing my parents the way we did is something I never imagined. It's hard, it's heavy, it's devastating. And honestly, I'm trying to still wrap my head around it. But what I do know is my parents were love, they were strength, they were the kind of people that you can call in the middle of the night and they show up. They didn't just raise me, they shaped me. And they loved me, and they loved hard. They loved each other, our family, and their community. So today, even though I'm standing here with a broken heart, I want to speak on the legacy that they leave behind, because they were more than just this loss. They were a light that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. Let me start with my dad. If you knew him, you already knew that he was a comedian of the family, always smiling, always cracking jokes, finding a way to make people laugh even when they didn't feel like it. He had a way of lighting up any room he walked in. He wasn't just funny, he had a really big heart. My dad showed love through action. He looked out for everybody, whether you were family or somebody he just met in passing. If he could help anyone, if he could help you, he would. That's just how he moved. And if you knew our relationship, you knew he didn't just say, I love you with words, he said it through actions. Whether that was asking me about my car tires, he would ask me and text me, blow my phone up. Did you change your oil yet? How's your tires? You still riding around with the engine light on? And I said, well, the car started in the music bump. That's all, I'm good. That's it for me. But he showed love through checking on you, making sure you were straight, and making sure your speakers were loud enough to drown out your worries. He also loved sports. He loved his family. And he loved his YouTube. Something shifted in him when he started his YouTube. I watched my dad find purpose, real purpose. Every Tuesday, he'd be in the loft that he'd turn into a game room, lights set up, background clean, game systems everywhere, and he'd go live for hours, vibing with his supporters, talking about life, talking about his family, telling stories, dropping wisdom, cracking jokes, and just being himself. You could tell he really loved it. He felt seen. He felt like he was doing something that mattered. And honestly, he was. He touched people, not just here, but everywhere, throughout his videos, throughout his words, throughout the kind of man he was. My dad did everything to make sure we were straight. He provided, he protected, he poured into us. And if you ask me, I think he fulfilled his purpose. I really do. I couldn't have asked for a better father. I'll carry his laughter, his lessons, and his love with me for the rest of my life. My dad was one of a kind. And if I had one more day with him, I wouldn't ask for anything fancy. I just want one more laugh, one more joke, and maybe one more text about my tires. Now, my mom was the most beautiful, intelligent, wise, grounded, God-fearing mother. There really isn't words to explain. There really isn't words to explain who she was, because she was everything. She loved hard, she gave endlessly, and she carried so much grace the way she moved through this world. She had this peaceful strength about her, and she poured that into every single one of our family members every single day. Her routine was she was up before the sun every morning at 5 a.m. reading her Bible, working out, cooking, and handling her business like the powerhouse she was. She didn't just have faith, she lived it. And because of her, I saw what it's meant to walk with God, to stand tall, and to love your people unconditionally. One of my favorite things about my mom was her obsession with elephants. We have elephants everywhere in the house, figurines, paintings, trinkets. If it had a trunk, it was coming home with her. And it made sense because elephants represent wisdom, strength, and memory, all things that describe her perfectly. People always called her Bubbly, and I used to laugh at that word, but honestly, it fit her so well. She had this lightness, this energy, this joy that was just hers, and she brought that same spirit everywhere she went, whether it was gardening, cooking, or just being present with the one she loved. She was the definition of what a mother is supposed to be. And I don't just say that because she is mine. I say that because she embodied it. She showed me what it looks like to show up for your family. She inspired me every single day. Watching her become the woman she was meant to be, it changed me. It changed how I see life, and it made me want to be better. I loved making her food whenever I could because we had the same taste buds, and that was one of our little things. I'm gonna miss her laugh. I'm gonna miss her compliments. I'm gonna miss the way her words felt like medicine when I needed it most. I'm gonna miss her energy. Because no one in the world was like my mother. She was truly one of a kind. I aspire to be everything she was in this lifetime. And I promise to fulfill everything she wanted in this lifetime. If I could tell her one more thing, it'd be, Mommy, I saw you. I saw everything that you were, everything you gave, everything you dreamed of, and I'll carry it with me. You are and you will always be my biggest inspiration. Behind my parents leave a legacy that's bigger than words. When my Uncle Joe passed in 2017, I saw something shift in them. I know they felt the pain heavy, but instead of letting it break them, they used it as fuel and it lit a fire underneath them. And from that moment on, they locked in and got focused and they elevated. I watched them build the life they talked about, the one they dreamed of. They bought their first big house, not just for themselves, but for all of us, for their grandchildren to grow up in, for their nieces and nephews to come over and feel loved. Every corner of our house has a purpose. I watched them renovate it, decorate it, fill it with memories, and every day they got up and grinded because they wanted better for us, and they made it happen. They did what they said they were gonna do. And to see them happy, fulfilled, and at peace, it made me proud because they did it together and they did it with love. I am so incredibly blessed that I got to move back home after 5 years away and that I got to be with them for that year. Those days, those conversations, those little everyday moments, I'll hold on to forever for the rest of my life. I'm so incredibly blessed. They gave me siblings, people I'll walk through this life with carrying their strength. I'm so incredibly blessed that they set us up to win, both while here and even now while gone. Thank you, God, for giving me them. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for everything, for your love, your sacrifices, your guidance, your example. I love you more than words can ever express. And I promise you, as long as I'm breathing, your legacy will remain. I will carry your names with pride, and I'll make sure your stories are told. I will honor you. I will fight for you. I will get you the justice you deserve and the peace we deserve. So while this hurts more than I can ever explain, I won't let this pain silence me. I will let it push me. I will let it fuel me, just like they would, because they didn't raise me to fold. They raised me to finish what they started. Rest easy, Mom and Dad. You did more than enough, and I'll make sure the world never forgets it. Until I see you both again, I'll keep running this race for you. The marathon continues. Say I love you.
Oof, gosh, guys, that really was very sad to watch. Oh my goodness. Watching that and hearing from their daughter was so devastating, but it also, to me, brought a light to who they really are, how bright and funny and how they both lit the room up. And I honestly, based on the videos that I seen of them, that was the energy I seen from their YouTube channel. Like, I didn't even know these people, but I was literally devastated, thinking, wow, what an incredible person Bubbly appears to be. And Finny seems to have a good heart, but I feel like maybe his excitement about, social media, and didn't realize the dangers that lurk behind social media. But I just feel so sad, like hearing the children and the daughter alone. Hearing her talk about her mom, I really could see, like, she talked about her father and how funny he was, and how, he helped her with her car and stuff like that, the speakers in the car, and he just sounded like a fun dad. Like, but when she spoke about Bubbly, just seeing, wow, like, it was hard for her to even start talking about her mother. Like, you could tell that Bubbly really made a huge impact on her children. Like, she seemed to be the beacon of light in that family that held it together, and her spirituality. So wow, that was like, it knocked the wind out of me, and it was like so captivating that I wanted to share that with you. But there's other ones. Yeah, definitely. Like Trisha's saying, definitely. That's what I took from that, Trish, is just, she talks about how fun her dad was and how playful it is. And of course she loves her dad. Okay. But there was a different level of love for her mother. And it was like, wow, like how when she even transitioned to talk about her mother, it took her a while to even start to speak. Like, it was just utter silence of how it just like knocked the wind out of her to lose her mother. And then as she started to talk about her mother's spirituality and the support she gave to her, and just, it seemed like, and that's the vibe I get from Bubbly, as being a leader. So that was one clip I wanted to share with you guys, and I want to hear your input on that. But now I would like to transition. Her mother actually spoke. Her mother didn't say much, but I feel like the message that her mother did share to me was pretty impactful. So I wanted you guys to hear it first and then get a perspective. She speaks after this, so we'll continue on and play until we get to her, Tanisha's mother.
If you are a member of clergy and you were asked by the family to give remarks, you are welcome to come at this time. If you were asked by the family, yes, ma'am. I would just like to share something with you that has brought me this far. I'm Tanisha's mother. And what God gave me was his word. And he took me to the Old Testament, where he told me he took the man from his mother and his father and brought him together, and he joined him with his wife. And then he took me to the New Testament, and he showed me where the two that he has joined together, let no man, let nothing come between. And then he turned around and gave me until death do them part. So I'm here to serve notice on the devil today, because you didn't win. Even in death, you didn't master it. Because those two, once they return unto God, that one becomes two in him. And I just want to thank you for being here today.
I'm sorry about the volume, guys. It's not my fault. It's just the funeral service had low quality volume. But her, I'm sorry about the volume, guys. It's not my fault. It's just sorry, guys. I got an echo going on there. But that was Tanisha's mom, and I thought her message was very impactful, saying how, you know, when God brings someone together, you can't part them, and that was pretty impactful because Finny and Bubbly really loved each other. I think they had one of the most greatest loves I've seen in a relationship. They started out in high school and their love just grew so beautifully, and they just were inseparable. Wherever you see Finny, you're going to see Bubbly. They're always together, and just to see how their last moments together, you know, seeing how Tanisha stood up and was not afraid, even though there's this man shooting a gun, she wasn't afraid. Her love for Finny was so strong that she stayed in that environment when this man is shooting her husband to death, and she stayed there with her husband. I mean, you imagine, like, anybody would have took off running, you see somebody shooting. She didn't do that. She was so brave, and the love she had for him was so deep that she stood there and was willing to die with him because, you know, you would think somebody would start taking off. He was so focused on Finny. He had like tunnel vision. Manny did. So Manny at the time, he was so focused. He didn't even really pay attention to Bubbly when she stepped in front of him initially. He was like focused on taking out Finny. I get the names mixed up. Finny. And she could have had enough time to run, right, and get away. And he wouldn't have had time to even catch her because there was so many people there. He would have eventually just shot Finny and took off. But this woman, Bubbly, loved her husband so much, y'all. She stood there and walked right into the fire. Like, she walked right into the gunshots. You seen her pick up the camera and then walk directly where Finny was as Manny is shooting into her husband. That to me is the most deepest love. And to hear Tanisha's mom speak about that, I feel like that is just so powerful. Like, most of us in this world wish we could have love like that, the love that Finny and Bubbly had. And I just feel like they're such an inspiration to people who don't have love like that. Now let's transition. There's another couple of other clips I want to share with you from the funeral. Tanisha's cousin spoke, and I thought her message about Tanisha was pretty impactful. So I'm going to segue into that clip as well. Let's see if we can get there. Okay, I think that's right.
I opened up the doors to their house for my daughter when I couldn't.
This guy, you can't really hear him, so we'll wait till he ends it.
Trying to figure this out. I smile and I understand. I know Lovely want us to stand strong. He loved that YouTube.
Okay, here it is.
Camera.
This is Tanisha's cousin.
Me and Tanisha are about a year apart. My mom brought me home from the hospital to my grandma's house where Tanisha was, and some of my fondest memories were there at my grandma's house with a lot of my cousins. So many of us, like, we say cousins, but I feel like we're all family, like we're brothers and sisters, friends or cousins. Tanisha and Rodney were different. And since high school, when they met, they were inseparable. The light that they shone, their smiles, their charisma. Tanisha was always cooking 7 meals because Rodney's picky, and Rodney's always clowning at the house, and there was always a vibe that was different. And when my dad passed, Rodney and Tanisha opened up the doors to their house for my daughter when I couldn't be there for her because that's who they were. They didn't leave a legacy, they created a legacy. And the foundation that they created within their children and the pieces they left within all of us will shine different from here on out. There's not enough that we can say about them. There's just every memory that hits. We all will remember and forget them and miss them, but we will never, ever, ever, ever shake the way that they made us feel. Those smiles and that laughter, they embrace all of us. Tanisha's laughter, so loud. And Rodney, you can never shut him up. He was the funniest one in the room, always. And just like his family said, when you didn't want to laugh, he made you. And when you didn't have a home, they made sure you had one to feel like you were in.
Oh gosh, guys, that is so sad. That was Tanisha's cousin, and like Trisha saying, that was her kind of a best friend. Like, they were from children and up, very close and inseparable. And just there again, a lot of these people that speak who knew Bubbly and Finny talk about how they just were always happy and always just the life of the party and just like really exuded this light of joy and positivity. Even Tanisha's coworkers spoke about how amazing she was, and she just was so bright and bubbly. And you just these messages from people that actually knew Finny and Bubbly really brings forth the humanity in who they are. Because a lot of times we hear about these individuals and the tragedies on the news and on YouTube channels, but we don't never take the time to get to know who they really are. And they seem like to be beautiful souls who impacted everyone around them in such an inspirational, positive way. They brought life everywhere they went. And that's what makes this tragedy so sad. It makes me want to see justice for them so much, because we've got 4 kids without beautiful parents. We've got grandchildren. The grandson never gets to see his grandparents that he loves, cousins, co-workers. Everyone's life changed forever. And I don't know if you guys have been around someone who's kind of like the bubbly type that brings the light around you. But when that person's gone, it feels like this gray cloud over you. It's like you feel that spark is gone. You know, it's like if you've ever been around a person like Finny and Bubbly, it really does alter the life of those who had experienced them on a daily basis. So now I want to go and talk and segue into, they did this amazing kind of like slideshow of Finny and Bubbly, and I thought it was so impactful. I literally was watching it. I don't even know these people, y'all. A lot of you who know me, who've been on my channel, y'all know I'm an empath, so I'll be crying and stuff. But this slideshow took me out, y'all. I don't know about you, but it took me out, so I wanted to share it. I wanted us to all kind of get to know and see who they were through pictures and through their memories. So I'm going to share this next part. Let's see if we can get there. Oh, we're past these.
At this time, the family has prepared a video segment for you. Then I will come back with those of you who have gathered for family remarks.
Whoo, guys. Whoo, that was hard. I don't know if it was a dry room and dry eye who's watching that. If you have a dry eye, you don't have a soul. That was just, my God. Guys, I have never even met Finny or Bubbly, and I wasn't even watching their channel. I just found out about them after the tragedy. But you can tell when a person has a beautiful soul when it impacts you and you don't even know them. And I remember when I just looked at the photo of Bubbly, I was somehow captivated by her, and my heart was so devastated, you know, just like watching the video and seeing her. And Finny, I was like drawn to them. Like there's something about them. They have a light that I don't know about. And I just wanted to learn more about them. And now hearing all the people speak about them and how they really changed a lot of people's lives, this whole situation should have never happened. I totally agree with Trish that this should have never happened, and just really how beautiful they are and really have made me invested in this story to learn from it, to actually use their life as a legacy and try to really honor them. And I think we all should try to honor them, because I feel like their lives were tragically ripped away from something that just should not have happened, like what Trish is saying. But I wanted to share a couple more clips with you. These are people that I thought were pretty amazing to share, again, different aspects of the couple. So this individual, I'm not going to play his, but he was he worked with him. Actually, I kind of will play him. He actually was a coworker of Tanisha's. And I liked his perspective. He kind of shared who she was at work. So I thought that was pretty cool. So we'll play that, and we'll play one of Tanisha's friends. And if you guys want me to play anything else, let me know, or we'll just probably end it there. But let's play this video.
Difficult day. She might call me, say, hey, you got time to talk? And I'd always say, sure. And we'd talk about our frustrations. And in the end, we'd always end up talking about politics.
Mother, the organist will help you. When you get close to the 2-minute mark, they'll just tune up a little bit. And you may come right on, sir. As our first one to give remarks, you may come right on. Thank you.
I knew Tanisha for coming up on 16 years. Worked with her at Jacobs. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay. I knew Tanisha for about 16 years. And in that time, we were more than co-workers. We became close friends. And one thing I'm going to remember about her, and I'm sure many of you that knew her, was her infectious positivity and the energy. If she walked into a room or a conversation, there wasn't anybody sleeping, right? Because she would always bring that energy. One thing I would remember is, even with all that energy, at the end of a particularly difficult day, she might call me, say, hey, you got time to talk? And I'd always say, sure. And we'd talk about our frustrations. And in the end, we'd always end up talking about politics, family, science, other things like that. And then at the very end of the conversation, we'd always end talking about our mutual love for food, either a recent recipe that we tried or a restaurant find. I'll miss those conversations very much, and she will be missed. Thank you.
Good afternoon, you guys. I'm Lachelle. And when you talk about the sandbox, I'm talking about Tanisha was a friend from the sandbox, second, third grade. I'm sorry. I didn't cry, and today I'm a mess. My body is a mess. But if you guys knew Tanisha like I did, I have just such good memories. I'm talking about when Leola and my mom stayed on 73rd Avenue in Peoria. I'm talking about way back. She'd come over to my house, to my mom's house. I also have two sisters, Sharice and Latoya. They're also in here today. We were all best friends with Tanisha. Boy, we used to fight over her. She just has this energy that was just so hard to get rid of. She was just so bubbly, so loud. And I remember her, my mom used to be like, Tanisha, if you don't be quiet, I'm gonna send you home. She's like, okay, Audrey, okay, I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna stop. But and then Rodney, I watched little Rodney be born. She was there when my first son was born. He's 26 now. So this is devastating to me. But because I think about me as a mother and my kids, and her kids are the same age, and I couldn't imagine my kids behind this mic like hers were. You guys were so brave, standing there, and I know how much your mom meant to y'all. And I didn't get to talk to her every day, but the last time I talked to her, we had a conversation in October. She said, "Girl, I'm gonna come out there to Vegas, and we're gonna have a good time." And I said, "Okay." But to know that was the last time, I wish I would have called my friend every day. And Vassar has always been a blessing to us. She knows how much we love Tanisha. I was her maid of honor. Um, I just send you guys my prayers, my condolences, and y'all know I love Tanisha and Rodney. And if you guys ever need me, I'm just a call away, and I'll answer every call. It don't matter the time or day. If you just need somebody to vent to or to come and brush your hair, hold your hand, I'm there. And I love y'all. That's it.
Good morning.
Wow, y'all, that was, yeah, just like Trisha's, just so deep. Yeah, they seem like very close knit family. And you can see how close that woman was, and the coworker, how he's talking about how she would just brighten the room up, and they talk about politics and the favorite foods. She was a good cook too. I remember I've watched one of Finny's lives. He was talking about how she would be making chicken, and she loved to make chicken and other like that's what he always said. He said chicken or hamburgers. I don't know what he said, something like that. But anyway, she used to be a really good cook, and just hearing that and hearing that friend, man, and how she's, seems like she knew, well, she did say she knew Tanisha since the sandbox. That means they were kids. That is a hard friend to lose, someone you've known since you were, a child, playing in the sandbox. To lose that somebody that close to you, that you've been around, literally fighting, like she said, fighting over her. Dang, that just shows how wonderful she is. She's the type of person you could just look through the screen and want to go hang out with her, because she just seems like this infectious bright light. It was just like, wow. So that was like sad. I wanted to play that one, but I feel like we didn't give Finny some justice. So I'm going to play one video of people that knew Finny, because I feel like we kind of didn't give him much of any exposure. We talked a lot about Tanisha. So I'm going to see if I can play some of these about Finny.
You know what I'm saying? He was always smiling, so I couldn't be a. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dewan. Rodney, call me DeWeezy, Blue Bear Matthews. Rodney we lived on 16th Avenue in Sherman. Rodney lived in the PJs. We would go to the Boys and Girls Club back in the day. And, growing up over there, living over there, you had to be tough. People pick on you and stuff like that. It was never a moment like that. Like, Rodney never ever, he always treated me with love and respect. He was always smiling, always a happy person, always joyful. So moving forward, I can never be mad at him, but moving forward, going to Alhambra, we played on the same football team. And let me share, a little moment where I should have been mad, but I couldn't be mad. I probably scored about 10 touchdowns this year. And Rodney was on my team. The first time I scored that touchdown, Ronnie come running to me with a big smile on his face, laughing. I'm, I'm thinking he about to high five. I'm doing my little dance and stuff, celebrating. I'm thinking we high fiving. Come to find out, it's a flag on the play. Rodney then did something to get my touchdown call back. It happened the first time. Okay. Then the second and the third and the fourth time, but I couldn't be mad because he was always just smiling and he was apologizing about, saying, jumping off sides, clipping somebody, whatever it was that got my touchdown call back. You know what I'm saying? He was always smiling, so I couldn't be upset with him. Rodney also was like the heart of bringing us younger generation cats together to play against the older cats. And, Rodney he was raised, he was looking up to his Uncle Finrock, Carl Finley. He looked up to him so cold. He thought he was his uncle. So he just thought he was wet and sweet, like his Jader was just sweet. So we'd be playing the game against the old cats and we'd only need 1 point. And see, Rodney would always recruit me because I was the dog. I was the rough, tough dog to play against Joe Vincent. You know what I mean? So he would recruit me to play against the dog. I'll be down low. We just need 1 point, Rodney. And I'll be down there posted up. Rodney come down and he look at me. And I'm thinking he gonna pass me the ball for the win so I can, have that glory. And then he'll jack the shot up and then miss it. And I'll be like, Rodney, man, make the easy pass. Come on, baby. I'm a little Finrock, baby. I got that. I'm wet. Just get the rebound, DeJuan. And just start laughing, So I couldn't be mad at him. You know what I'm saying? I really couldn't be mad at him. Never. When we played on that football team, I gave him a lot of rides home. Like, that's my family. That's my partner. That's my guy. We spent a lot of time together. Like, he came to me when Joe passed away and asked me to be the pallbearer. You know what I'm saying? And I was honored. You know what I'm saying? One more quick story that I can just think about off the head. It was a West Side Connection concert. And
this guy was a little long-winded, but I think you guys get the point. What he was sharing was a big background about Finny. Finny grew up in the projects. Yeah, he lived in a low-income housing, like what this man is sharing. And so he came from very humble beginnings, and he and his wife worked really hard. Their dream was to give their family, their children, a future. And they worked really hard to purchase a house so that all the kids could have this home. And they had just bought this house. They don't even own it yet, but they're in the process of trying to create this foundation for those children. So they were just like, to see him come from such humble beginnings and then do all this to accomplish his dreams, to get a house for all the kids to be able to stay. And the fact that he was really passionate about football, that's another thing. He loved football fantasy as well, and he played football. You can hear him talking about how, like Trish said, he was very competitive. He was. And he was like clever with it, like how this man is sharing. Like, he's pretty sneaky and clever and was able to strategically find ways to win. So I think that's kind of like shows his intelligence. And how he has that ability to maintain composure. To me, I feel like that's emotional intelligence, how he was always able to control himself and was very even-tempered. And that's a unique quality, especially for a man to have. And it's just beautiful to see. One thing I can now understand is why Trish, sorry, I'm talking about you now, girl. Why Tanisha and Finny click so well. If you heard the testimonies from different people who knew each other, both of them, they kind of say the same thing about both of them, that they're both positive, bubbly. They bring light to wherever they go. They exude this sense of happiness and joy, and everybody around them are kind of drawn to that spirit. And that's probably what drew them to each other, because they had the same spirit. And it's kind of hard to be able to find love like that in this world, someone that matches your soul, matches your temperament. But I'm hearing like a common theme from different people who are talking about each person is that they both have this bubbly, happy, bright, positive side to them. The only difference between them is that Finny is very highly competitive. He's more of the athletic type. And Bubbly was more of like the mother, the strong foundation. She really had a passion for elephants. And I'm going to actually show you some symbolism and meaning of elephants and why I feel like her passion for elephants and why she was so drawn to them. It's because she emulates some of the qualities of an elephant in their strength and their leadership, and how she demonstrated those qualities in this tragedy. And we're going to share that. But before I do that, I want to get another clip of someone else who knew Finny, just so we can give him fair exposure too, because I feel like we had a lot of people share about Tanisha, but not many talked about Finny. So I'm going to see if I can get one more, and then we'll move on to the elephant symbolism.
Voluntary Culture and Inclusion Awareness Committee at Jacobs, where we worked at, of which Tanisha was a member. The bold, Tanisha Forever Bold.
He was not one that be sad, and you know that because you know of him.
And what I've learned the most from this is, of course, you don't know when you're going to go. You don't know when the next person is going to go either. So it's important and it's crucial to live every day to the fullest, to do what you want to do with your life, to reach your goals, to support them. I've been shaking all day, and it's going to be really hard saying goodbye to them. But I've lost a lot of people throughout my 22 years of life, all ways that I can think of. And what I've learned the most from this is, of course, you don't know when you're going to go. You don't know when the next person is going to go either. So it's important and it's crucial to live every day to the fullest, to do what you want to do with your life, to reach your goals, to support those around you, to make sure that you don't just live. You need to experience, you need to support people, you need to influence. It's something different to just sit here and let life experience you. You're supposed to go out there and experience life. My uncle, he was there for me in ways that my dad didn't have time, because he was a workaholic. And I really value that, because I'm a workaholic and I get a lot of who I am from my dad just as much as I do my mom. But my uncle filled in so much for me when my dad wasn't able to, that I have a lot of him too. And I've always known my aunt, she's always been in the picture. So it's not just my uncle, it's my aunt and my uncle. It's always been my aunt and my uncle, one unit, not two. And that's something that I really value and I really cherish. It's a ride or die situation, and that's something I'll always remember. So I love you both. Goodbye.
Oh my God, that was so sad. That was their niece. And a lot of people don't know this about them, but Finny had lost his brother. His brother was deceased. I don't know if he has another brother, but one of his brothers had died. So they were already suffering the loss of him. And now imagine Finny's mom has now lost a second son. So they've faced a lot of grief. And now she lost a daughter-in-law as well. So it's like, and you can hear also how this niece talks about both of them, how they were like so impactful in her life because her dad wasn't really around because he worked so much. So it seems like Finny and Tanisha were the type that they spread their energy and their love to everyone around them. Like they were very unselfish people. When they seen a need or where somebody was lacking, they would make effort to fill in that void for people. And that to me is so beautiful, because you don't come across people like that very often. Those people are very rare. And like she said, I think she left a very impactful message to all of us, is that you never know when your time is to go. I think one thing we need to learn from this: remain humble, learn to forgive people who do harm you or hurt you. Like there's one thing that God does teach us, is to like look over basically don't look back on what someone does to you. Just forgive and move forward and try to be a positive impact, because at the end of the day, it's what you do and what positive impact you leave on this earth is what's going to be left with those around you. Don't worry about the small stuff. Focus on living your best life and being positive. I think she was right because you just never know. Do you think Finny and Bubbly thought that that was going to be their last day? No way. They didn't. And life was snatched from them so quickly, they didn't have a chance to even think or even process it. And that's how quickly life can be ripped from us. And people may think, oh, 44 years old, 43 years old is very old and they're old people. They're not. They still have so much life left. And they got taken from them. It got taken from them. And now there's children that lost their parents. These children are just in their early 20s and now they're stuck with the mortgage they can't pay. They're stuck without parents trying to navigate this earth, and that beautiful light that they brought to everyone around them is stripped from them. It's very sad. So I agree with what she said. Cherish each day, be positive, leave a positive impact on those around you. And forgiveness is important because I think that's a big lesson that we can learn from both sides is forgiveness. And I want to leave you guys with this symbolic meaning of elephants, because I think it's very powerful. And this was something, Tanisha loved elephants. And actually, I played a live yesterday on my live, and it was one of Finny's lives. And if you looked in the background of his live, you could see a photo of an elephant. And I remember last night looking at that photo, and I was so focused on it. I was like, wow, look at that elephant. And not realizing that elephants was a passion of hers. And now I know why. Elephants are their images and their meanings of happiness. And that's what Tanisha was. Good luck, loyalty, power, and stability. That is exactly what describes Tanisha. Every time you've seen her on a video, she was always happy. She was always dancing. It's like she really lived freely in who she was. And that's very rare, especially in America when we're always overworking. A lot of people are stressed out. They're trying to make ends meet. But she wasn't the type of person to allow that to impact her life. She lived a real free, happy life. Loyalty. She was loyal to her husband to a fault. To a fault. She risked her life for her husband and walked into the crossfire to be there with her husband. She stepped up to another man to defend her husband. And that to me is amazing. Power. To me, Bubbly always demonstrated strength and stability. Yes. This woman was loyal to her family. She was loyal to everyone around her. She was loyal to, as you heard from different people, she was loyal to her cousins, her friends. She had friends from all the way from the sandbox. Her coworkers adored her. And she just had this stability. She was loyal to everyone around her. She stood by, and she demonstrated that to the very fault of her life. I mean, think how this whole tragedy started in the first place. She was defending a woman, another streamer who was being bullied by Manny, Sarah. She stepped in when no one else did to try to speak up for another woman. And that's why I feel like she was drawn to elephants, because they demonstrated the symbolism, in who she was. Another thing that they talk about regarding elephants is they have wisdom, power, and royalty. That's pretty amazing. I feel like she was kind of emulating that aura of wisdom in terms of guidance, but the problem is, you mix that with alcohol. It's a whole different thing, y'all. So we're not going to talk about the alcohol part, but the wisdom as in how she steered her children. You heard that from her daughter and how huge impact she had on her daughter. Her daughter literally just could barely even get the words out of her mouth of how her mom was like her stable force in her life and had that spirituality to help guide her daughter in love and in that, I would say, in firmness in terms of where she can rely upon her mom in anything. I feel like her mom was like this symbol of strength in the household. I feel like even though Finny was the man, I feel like Tanisha was like the leader. I feel like that's the aura I got. Finny was like the one always having fun, joking. He was the light of the party. And Tanisha, she had this symbol of strength and firmness that the children could lean on whenever they really needed some guidance and wisdom and, that stability that they needed and support that they needed. Elephant represents many positive influences. Well, everybody at the funeral talked about how positive they were, how they were always full of joy and lit up a room when they walked in. Well, that's true. Ranging from strength, good fortune to health, happiness, and spiritual well-being. All those demonstrate Tanisha. And I would say even Finny. But I think Tanisha, to me, for sure, demonstrated strength. Even from the very moment she passed away, how she stood up firmly in front of Manny to try to defend her husband and protect her husband, and how she walked into the crossfire without fear. Like, that's amazing. I feel like, and I know people are not going to agree with me, but I do feel like Tanisha died a hero and someone who was so brave, because I don't know anybody who would just walk straight into a crossfire. Most people, even if they're married, would have ran. I'm keeping it real. I've seen these tragedies. I've heard about these stories, and I've seen where they'll have a husband or wife. Even men will take off running. Okay. They leave their girlfriend there and be gone. I've seen it happen. I've covered many of these cases, and to see this woman be willing to just go out with her husband, to me, was amazing. Happiness and spiritual well-being. Well, she was a woman of God. She was centered, and nobody's perfect. I know people say, well, if she's a woman of God, why was she drinking all that? Nobody's perfect. She, on a daily basis, this woman woke up at 5 a.m. in the morning. She was very, this woman was, Tanisha was very, to me, like a Proverbs 31 woman. She woke up at 5 a.m. in the morning. She would exercise. She would read her Bible. She would pray every morning at 5 a.m. and have a spiritual time set aside for God at 5 in the morning. How many of y'all gonna wake up at 5 in the morning to pray? I don't know about you, but I can't do all that. I love me some God, but I can't do all that. Okay. Now, another thing about elephants is they are loyal companions that remain determined, protective over their family. Guys, we saw that the day she died, never forgetting the bond which ties them together. She was protective over her husband. The moment she died, she stood in front of a man to defend her husband. She was the one out guarding a grown big old man, her husband. She was the one that was on the lookout for any type of danger. Finny had his back to, the crowd. He was just focused in on the fountains. He really wasn't like paying attention to his surroundings. But Bubbly was. And you remember the video footage when Julie was walking by with the camera and she panned over to Bubbly. You could see Bubbly standing strong in stature and looking around, like looking at the crowd, protecting her husband, checking for any signs of danger. And she was the first one to catch a sign of danger when she saw Manny step up, and she stood up and said, "Don't come here, starting any mess," and just continue to be that iron force of strength. To me, I feel like elephants really demonstrate the woman she was. And that's pretty impactful. Like, the things that we are drawn to really can be to emulate who we are in life and in our character and who we are. So I would say, in memory of her, if you see an elephant, or I would try to get a symbol of an elephant and try to emulate those qualities, because I think those are beautiful qualities: leadership, strength, love, happiness, health, power, wisdom. Those are beautiful qualities. And I do definitely feel Bubbly emulated that. And I also feel Finny did. I feel like Finny more so, though, was the funny, happy, positive vibe that really was the competitive force to try to win everything and, really just enjoy being competitive. He just seemed like the kid type of aura. He's a grown man, but he gives me like the playful, fun type personality that you want to be around and hang out with and enjoy life. So pretty amazing, guys. All right, guys, I love y'all. Take care. Let me know what you guys think about this tragedy and what you think about their funeral. I really just got to learn more about them and to realize what amazing people they are. And I want to strive to be just as amazing as they were. All right, like, comment, and subscribe. Take care.